Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're doing a tier list ranking of the best small forwards in NBA 2K22 MyTEAM. Shout out to my boy Ty, or actually Nate, Ty's brother, for making this tier list on Tier Maker. Just borrowing their tier list, so a huge shout out to him for making this tier list and making it possible that I can use this tier list for my rankings. There may be one or two cards that are missing on this tier list, just letting you know. It's very possible that Nate maybe forgot one. And also, I will say Dennis Rodman is not on this tier list at all. Just keep that in mind. I think Rodman, for me personally, would probably be an A tier small forward, like top of A tier, one of the better small forwards in the game. Not quite at that truly top tier of the best, like 4 or 5 in my personal opinion, although my opinion may change a little bit. But I just want to let y'all know Rodman is not on this tier list, and I would have him probably in the A tier, maybe even the S tier, depending on how this ranking is. Rodman's a really good card, just with a bad release, so I just did want to mention that briefly. Also, before we hop into this video, if you haven't, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 4,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day. I would really appreciate your support if you haven't already, if you do subscribe. Without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into it and start off with Andre Iguodala, who I think, similar to the shooting guard tier list that I did yesterday, he's right on that borderline between S tier and A tier. I think I'm going to go A tier for now. And again, I went A tier with him yesterday and then changed my mind and put him in S tier. So there's a chance he might get moved up to S tier, but I do know there's a few guys who I do prefer over him. So we'll have to wait and see if he fits in that top 5. But Iggy is a really, really good athlete, really good defender, solid dunker, solid shooter, pretty complete all-around card, not missing a ton of badges. Shooting wise, can get limitless spot up, blinders, chef to improve him a bit. Jumper is really smooth, quick, easy to grade. It's on quick timing as well, which is nice. His movement is not elite, but at the small forward position, I don't think that's quite as crucial. But he does not have the greatest size at only 6'6" at the small forward position. You'd prefer a 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" small forward. But overall, defensively, he's elite. Really solid offensive card as well. Definitely a great guy. I think A tier is pretty fair for him. Andre Kirilenko, I think I would still go B tier. I'm a little bit lower on AK than I was at some points in this year, just because I mean, it makes sense. He's been out for a while. This card is a bit outdated in that he came out 3 months ago, something like that, in end of October. But 6'9" with 7 foot wingspan is elite size, solid speed and excel, solid shooter. His dunking is not as big of an issue as it looks like, with only a 67 driving dunk. Defensive stats are elite though, and badge wise, he comes with half chase down artist, clamps, pogo stick, which are some really good Hall of Fame badges. Defensive badges in general are really good. Offensively, he's not much of a playmaker, but he's a knockdown shooter. Limitless spot up is a badge that he is missing, but he can get sniper. He has a nice release with base 29. This AK does not have 98 like the other AK does, that we will get to in just a sec. But even with jump shot 29 on normal, it's a solid jumper. His movement is not elite. He's not an elite slasher, but he's a really good 3-and-D guy, and I think he still is in the B tier, despite the fact that he is a bit outdated at this point. Now, this Andre Kirilenko, the 95 overall, is S tier easily. I think you could make an argument he's the best small forward in the game. 6'9" with a 7 foot wingspan, 3 out of 5 hotspots. Comes with 10 hoffs, which are bullet passer, dimer, as well as elite defensive badges like ball stripper, chase down artist, clamps, interceptor, intimidator, menace, and pogo stick. Defensive stats are all 90 plus, really, really elite all across the board. Solid dunker, really solid shooter, solid athlete as well. The nice playmaking badges as well, like bullet passer and dimer on hoff, are good to have. Can get limitless spot up, unlike the other AK, which is definitely nice as well. Maybe a badge like Deadeye as well. And then jump shot wise, jump shot 98. It's not quite as good as it was in 2K20, 2K21, but it's still a top 5 release in my team, I would say. Really smooth, really quick, really easy to green. Again, movement is not elite, but as a 3-and-D guy who's going to defend at really as high of a level as anybody in the game, one of the best defensive cards in the game easily, and also has a really good jump shot and is going to knock down shots at an elite level. That's what you want at the small forward position. He's S tier in my opinion, and I don't really think there's much doubt about it. Bailey Howell, honestly, I would say is A tier because he can get the key badges that he is missing, generally speaking, and he has good movement at the small forward position. 6'7" with 6'9" wingspan is pretty average size. Only one hotspot, but an 79 shot three-pointer. May not be the greatest in the world, but he can get every key badge shooting wise except for that limitless spot up. Could also get quick first step, handles for days, pick dodger. You're going to want to badge this card out if you do pick him up, but he's a solid all-around defender, solid slasher, solid shooter, and solid athlete. Like, nothing jumps off the page about this card, but he has shifty dribble styles, small forward, which is really nice to have because most guys don't have the movement that he's going to give you, especially if you get that quick first step and handles for days on him. Jumper is, I believe, the exact same as Tracy McGrady's, although the upper might be different. It's the same exact jumper as DeMar DeRozan anyway, and T-Mac. Yeah, T-Mac's on there. Really, really good jump shot. Super smooth, quick, and easy to green. And yeah, his movement is really good. His shooting is really good. He isn't an elite enough defender or offensive player in either area, I would say, to be an S-tier card, but he's definitely super solid. I think A-tier is pretty fair for him. Bernard King is just one of those guys who, when he came out, was decent, but was never really attained by a ton of people because most people don't grind collector level. And also, 7 hoffs, but they're not crucial ones. finishing badges are good, but they're not just they don't jump off the page this year. Downhill is not an elite badge either. He has good speed and excel, which is nice. Good dunker, but the defense is really mediocre. He's missing a lot of badges like an intimidator, post lockdown, rim protector, shooting badges as well, like blinders, chef, sniper, limitless. He needs a lot of badges, and just not an elite card. Jumper is, again, it's good, it's not great. Like jump shot 5 is definitely a solid jumper, and his movement isn't elite ever either. This card does not jump off the page at me in any area. I think he might be in the B tier still. I'll move him up to B tier for now, but I don't think he's an elite option at this point in the game at the small forward position. Now Carmelo. Is Carmelo A or B? This is a little bit tough because Carmelo obviously was a great reward this year, the season 1 level 40 reward. I just don't know if he does enough to be A tier still, because defensively he's really mediocre. He has solid size. He's what, 6'7", 6'8". There we go, with a 7-foot wingspan. Hot shots from almost everywhere. 7 hops, including good ones like blinders, hots on Hunter, ankle breaker. Does need defensive badges, but he can get most of the key ones. Like he can get clamps, chase down artist, rim protector, pick dodger. You definitely want to badge him out defensively, but you add 5 defensive badges to him. He's not the worst defender in the world, but statistically not an elite defender. A solid slasher, good is athleticism. Jumper is decent. It's better on next gen, but it's okay on current gen as well. Movement wise, again, doesn't jump off the page of you. He's a good card. I don't think he's a great card. He's not that elite defender, and at small forward, I think being an elite defender is one of the more important things that you can be in game right now. Butler, I'm putting in C tier because he just does not do enough for you on the court. He's got a good jumper, but that's about it. He's kind of slow, not an elite defender, not an elite slasher. His badges are not elite, despite the fact that he has 6 shooting badges. He's going to be a knockdown shooter, but no limitless spot up, no chef, hurts, and he needs way too many defensive and playmaking badges for this card. I don't recommend using him at this point, despite the fact his jumper is good, because movement isn't good. He doesn't do anything well except for shoot, and even that, without limitless and chef, his range is limited. Chris Mullen is, at small forward, I'm going to put him in C tier because there might be a couple of guys on this list that are worse than him. But, to me, I'm going to put him in D tier, actually. Chris Mullen is just not a card I would be using at small forward at all. A guy who's similar to Karan is not elite at anything but shooting. He is a better quote-unquote statistically defender, but he has really bad interior and block. Not a good slasher. Really good shooter, but that's it. Defensively super mediocre, missing a lot of key badges like interceptor, intimidator, pogo stick, rim protector, post lockdown. Needs quick first step applied. Just needs a lot of badges. Doesn't get a lot of badges that are good ones. Elite jump shot, kind of similar to Karan, and he is a slightly better shooter in terms of his badges and things like that than Karan is, but just undersized. The small forward only. He is 6'7", so I guess that's not too undersized. I'll move him up to D tier or C tier. I don't think he's terrible, but he's not a card I'd be using at this point in the year. Danny Granger. He was the first lock-in reward of the year. This is a day 1 card, so you can't expect too much out of him at this point. 6'9" is great size, but he's got so little total badges and not a lot of gold badges. Can get decent badges added, but you just don't want to badge out a card like this. And most people who have him, they're not using him anymore. There's significantly better budget options. He's not elite anywhere on defense, not an elite slasher. Really good shooter, but I guess you can upgrade his shooting badges and make him a solid shooter, but not a great athlete. Jumper is good. Fundamental dribble style is good, but he doesn't have the athleticism to really be much of a creator. This is just a really mediocre card. Does nothing particularly well except for, I guess, catch and shoot, but I'd say he's worse overall than Karan and Mullen because he's not as good of a defender as those two guys. And yeah, I think that's probably a D tier guy. Now this Galaxy Opal Danny Granger, I'm still not going to put him in S tier because there are guys I do prefer over him at the small forward position, but this is a much better card. 6'9" with 7'1" wingspan is still that elite size similar to the diamond, but hotspots from everywhere, 15 hops including elite shooting badges, really solid all around playmaking badges as well, defensive badges pretty complete as well, can get rim protector, post lockdown, brick wall, ball stripper, solid all around defender, solid slasher, really good shooter, good athleticism, really nice jumper. It's the same jumper as the diamond, but he's just a much better all around shooter with his badges and stats. Fundamental dribble style, he's more athletic now, so it's easier for him to create his own shot. Just much more complete card in terms of his badges, his stats, everything about the card is improved, so he definitely jumps a significant amount up to the A tier. Darius Miles, I'm looking at the guys in this list. He might be A tier. I don't think so. He is a solid budget small forward. There's no doubt about that. I think he's become a bit overlooked because he came out the same weekend as AK, who is not a overpriced card, but an elite small forward in the game. But Miles is a good card. 6'9" with 7-foot wingspan, solid speed and excel, good slasher, good shooter, solid defender, half quick first step, half chase down artist, half post riser, limitless takeoff. Pretty complete in terms of the badges he can get as well, like limitless spot up, sniper, ball stripper, brick wall, pick dodger, badges like that. You add those 5 badges, he's a pretty complete card. Jumper is definitely really solid with the Brook Lopez base, fundamental dribble style as well. With the quick first step on Hoff, I think he deserves to be in the A tier. I might adjust and move him down a little bit, but he's got great size. He's a really solid defender, complete on badges, good dribble style, really nice jumper. Overall, he's not missing much at this point. Definitely a really good budget small forward option. Now, Demar Derozan, 6'7", small forward. He doesn't have an elite player build. Badge-wise, he's missing a lot of badges. Like, he can't get Chef. He needs blinders. He needs limitless. He needs handles for days. He needs quick first step. He needs ball stripper, ankle braces, intimidator, interceptor, post lockdown, rebound chaser, rim protector. There's just a lot of badges he's missing. Not an elite interior defender. Solid on the perimeter, but again, I don't think I would call that elite, especially because he doesn't have the greatest of size. Really good athlete with good speed and excel, but he just needs a ton of badges. He's a good shooter. Good SIGs, good slasher. Jumper is the same as Bailey Howell. SIGs, same as Bailey Howell as well. He's just not as good as Bailey Howell because he's not as complete badge-wise, even when you do badge him out, and not as good of a defender or rebounder either. I think he's a bit undersized, small forward, not super undersized, but not crazy good. That being said, he still is certainly a good enough card, a guy who you can still run. I think people might take issue with me putting him in B tier, but I think he might be a B tier guy. I'll put him in A tier for now, but there's a chance I will move him down if we don't have enough B tiers later in the video. Detlef Schrempf is just really mediocre, I think is a great way to describe him. He does have really good size at 6'10", but not a ton of total badges. Shooting badges are solid, but he does need some badges added, like playmaking badges. Can't get quick first step. Defensively, again, just doesn't jump off the page at you at all. Not an elite slasher. Jumper is good, but he doesn't have great athleticism, and the jumper actually isn't that good. The shooting ability is good, but the jumper isn't that good. I mean, jump shot to 40 is fine, but it's just not like an amazing jumper. It's the same base as Gary Payton. It's a little bit slow. Definitely super smooth and easy to green, but not the fastest jumper in the world. His movement is not elite, and he's just not that elite level shooter to make up for the fact that he can't get quick first step, isn't an elite defender, all those things. I think he's the best card in C tier, but I'm still going to put him in the C tier on this list. Dominique Wilkins, I think, is maybe the best card in B tier currently. I will put him in the B tier though, still, because he's just not quite as elite. Only 6'7", again, that's not terrible size, but it's not elite. 9 Hoffs, including mostly finishing badges, which again, I don't love this year. But Hoff quick first step, Hoff downhill is solid. Good handles for days as well. Defensively is pretty solid. Can get rim protector, post lockdown, intimidator, brick wall. You're going to need to add badges to him. Limitless spot up and sniper as well. He's not going to have enough badge slots to become a complete card, but he's a solid defender, really good slasher, solid shooter, and really good athlete. With a good jump shot, fundamental dribble style, Hoff quick first step. He is, I would honestly say, a worse Danny Granger, even maybe a worse Darius Miles, just because those cards have better size, better defense, and or maybe even slightly better shooters and more complete cards in terms of their badges. So not a bad card, but definitely not a great card. Wilkins is solid though. You can use him if you want to. Elgin Baylor, I think, is pretty definitively that D tier. Just not a good card at this point. Only 6'5". He's got great speed, but he's a really mediocre defender. Solid enough slasher, but not complete in terms of badges at all. Can't get limitless or sniper or blinders or chef or deadeye, etc. Needs a lot of badges. Defensive badges are really mediocre. This is one of the worst cards on this list for sure. Jumper is good, but the dribble style sucks. This card stinks. I wouldn't run him at all. Franz Wagner, I think, is B tier. Franz is a really good offensive card. Defensively, he's really mediocre. His jumper is nice though. He's 6'9". He's decently athletic, not a bad defender. Dunking is solid. Shooting is really good. Pretty complete in terms of the shooting badges. Does need quick first step and a bunch of defensive badges applied to the card, like clamps, interceptor, intimidator, rim protector. You're not going to be totally complete defensively, but you'll be solid on defense with his good size as well. 39 is it's not the greatest jumper in the world, but on Franz Wagner, I like it. I feel like it's a lot smoother and a lot easier to green than on a guy like Sean Marion or Hersey Hawkins. And movement is just mediocre. Like, he's just a mediocre card. I don't think he jumps off the page at you, but he's better than all the guys in C tier. So I think he definitely deserves to be somewhere in this B tier. George Girvin is missing way too much to be any higher than C tier. Kind of similar to Karan Butler and Chris Mullen, they're just not complete cards. 6'7", mostly finishing badges, missing basically all the key shooting badges. Doesn't get any good defensive badges as well, like clamps. He does have interceptor, I guess, on silver, but no intimidator, no rim protector. Really mediocre defensive stats. Mediocre slasher as well. Mediocre shooter. Jumper is that base 40 again. Doesn't have good movement. This card sucks. I wouldn't run him at all. I think I'm even going to put him in the D tier. He's probably the best card in D tier, but I still would not run the card whatsoever. Gerald Wallace, I'm going to put right next to Andre Kirilenko because I think they both give you similar things on the court. Gerald might be a slightly better athlete, as I click on the wrong version of him. But yeah, he's got 7 hops, fast twitch, the most takeoff, and solid defensive badges. Really solid defender all the way around. Good slasher, shooter, athlete. He's similar to AK though because they're both defensive specialists who catch and shoot on the offensive end. Gerald is a little bit more versatile in terms of his slashing ability, but I do prefer AK's jumper a little bit. Neither of them have elite movement. This jumper is solid. It doesn't jump off the page. It's not elite, but it's not bad at all. And yeah, he's just a really good defensive card. Very similar to AK. Doesn't give you enough offensively for me to put him in the A tier, but not a bad card whatsoever. Glenn Robinson is another one of those season 1 rewards that's just really outdated at this point of the year. And actually, since I put Danny Granger in the D tier, I'm going to put Glenn Robinson right next to him down in this D tier because they're very similar cards. Glenn is 6'7", 7'1" wingspan. Decent-ish all-around stats, but nothing jumps off the page. None of his Hall of Fame badges are elites. Does have solid playmaking badges, but doesn't get limitless. Doesn't get clamps, which are 2 of the more crucial badges. Doesn't get rim protector as well. So he's missing some good badges. Jumper is good, exact same as Granger, and he has the fundamental dribble style, just like Granger. Slightly better, I would say, defender and playmaker than the Danny Granger card, but not as good of a shooter. Mediocre card. He doesn't. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but doesn't jump off the page at you at all. But not a. I don't know. He's pretty bad at this point. He's pretty outdated. He was good for his time, but I definitely wouldn't run him. I think him and Granger are very, very similar and probably both deserve to be in that D tier. Gordon Hayward, I put in B. He's going to be one of the best shooting guys at the small forward position. 6'8" is good height. Not the greatest of wingspans, though. 10 hoffs include really good shooting badges. Doesn't get chef. Besides that, he's really complete there. Playmaking badges are solid. You can add a handles for days if you want, but he doesn't have the movement to be worth using handles for days on him. Jumper is really good, though. Super smooth and easy to green. He's a solid slasher, really good shooter. Solid all-around defender, and badge-wise is pretty complete with a badge like rim protector, post-lockdown, brick wall applied to him. He's pretty complete in terms of the offensive and defensive key badges. So overall, definitely a really solid card. Movement-wise, not elite. That holds him back from being in the A tier in my opinion, but he's a solid all-around card who doesn't really have a lot of flaws on the court. Grant Hill, I think, probably the best card in C tier, but he might even be B tier. This card was fun to use when I had him. 6'8" with a 6'11" wingspan, hot shots from both corners. Not the greatest hoffs, with some decent-ish finishing ones. Doesn't get limitless, doesn't get blinders, chef, deadeye, but he does have sniper on gold, catch and shoot, hots on 100, so that's nice. Playmaking badges are solid. Defensive badges, again, are solid. Defensive stats. He doesn't have the interior or block, so that hurts. 95 driving dunk is great, though. Good acceleration and speed. Decent-ish shooter. Jumper is pretty mediocre, similar to like a base 40. It's just not the fastest jumper in the world, but it's solid enough and easy enough to green. Movement is not elite. He's just another one of those guys like who's really mediocre. I think C tier is a fair slot for him. I think Gus Gerard is also D tier, another card who came out on day 1 of the game and just at this point has kind of run his course. 6'8" with a 6'10" wingspan, missing hotspots, not complete badge-wise at all. Defensive stats are okay, but no block rating, not a good slasher. Just really not complete on his badges at all. Jumper is good, fundamental dribble style is nice, but he has bronze quick per step. I guess it can be upgraded, but wouldn't use this card. Just not complete enough in any area of the game at this point in the year. Tatum. This Tatum, y'all aren't gonna like me for putting him in C tier, some of y'all probably, but this card stinks. Like the other Opal Tatum is a significantly better card. This card, he is 6'8", and statistically he's not bad. Jumper is awful though. Set shot 34 on a small forward is terrible. His movement sucks. Badge wise, he's okay. He can get rim protector, he can get chef, he can get mismatch. Like he's pretty good badge wise, but nothing insane. And just the jumper is horrendous, and that holds back a card so much, especially a guy whose main role on offense is going to be a catch and shoot guy at the small forward position. That holds Tatum back a lot, and for that reason, I don't think I can put him any higher than C tier. Now, this Tatum, is he S tier? That is the question. At the small forward position, is he S tier? Because I'm looking at this list and I see 3 other guys who I know for sure are S tier. So do I think Jason Tatum is that other S tier player? And I'm going to be honest, I don't think the answer is yes. I see one other guy on this list that I'd rather take over Jason Tatum. Tatum is a great card. I'm not going to take that away from him at all. Really, really good option. I think for some people, they would have him as a top 5 small forward. For me personally, he's not. I wish they'd change his wingspan back to 6'11". I don't know why it says 6'8", but he has good size. Hotspots from everywhere. 15 hoffs, including elite shooting badges, solid finishing badges, hoff clamps and interceptor and menace as well. Really good defensive stats. He's pretty elite all the way around. You can add a rim protector, brick wall, chef to complete him out in badges wise, but jumper is okay. Driving dunk is really good. He's a great card. 107 on quick is smooth and pretty easy to green. Movement is not elite, but Damn, this is tough because you can make an argument that he's not S tier. You can make an argument that he is S tier, but I see 6 guys in this list that I want to put in the S tier, and Jason Tatum is one of them. So you know what? I'm going to make an executive decision. Typically, I put 5 guys in S tier. I'm putting 6 this time. I think Jason Tatum deserves to be in that S tier of small forward. Jeff Green is a really solid budget player. Not the greatest card in the world, but he's definitely smooth. 6'8" with a 7'1" wingspan. Good speed, good defense, good shooter, great slasher. Shooting badge-wise, he needs badges. He needs an amethyst, so I don't really recommend adding badges to him, but he's pretty complete defensively on his badges except for rim protector. Same thing with Mullens and sniper if you wanted to add those to him. Jump shot 50 on quick. This is a weird jumper. It's pretty exclusive, but it's really quick and really easy to green, so that's nice. Movement is not elite at all, but with the fact that his jumper is really fast and he's a solid all-around defender, not a lot of flaws in the card, I think B tier is fair for him. Just doesn't miss a ton at this point in the year. Jimmy Butler is one of the better defensive cards in the game, and that's why I'm putting him in the A tier, because offensively he's pretty mediocre. Jumper is good, jump shot 22. It's definitely a smooth, pretty easy to green release. He's got good speed as well, decent dunker, decent shooter, but he's an elite defender, and that's what this card really does for you. Elite defensive badges can get rim protector, post, lockdown, chase down artist, brick wall as well. Does not get limitless spot up, which does hold him back a little bit, but the jumper is nice, which helps. And yeah, just overall really solid card. 3-and-D guy who doesn't have a little spot up. He's a better version of an Andre Kirilenko. Definitely a great card, but I don't think he's good enough to be considered for the S tier. Joe Smith, I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't know where to put this card because I have not looked at his stats whatsoever. That being said, 6'10" with a 7-foot wingspan, no hot spots basically except for that one left corner. 6 hops are mainly finishing ones. Not super fast, not a great dunker, not a great shooter, decent defender. Defensive badges are okay, but he needs clamps, he needs rim protector, he needs brick wall as well. He's okay. What's his jumper? Jump shot 22. Jump shot 22 is good. Slasher dribble style. He's not great, but he's all right. He's probably the best player in C tier, but I'm gonna put him in the C tier despite he is 6'10" actually. Can he get shooting badges? He can get limitless. He doesn't get sniper. You know what? Nah, I think C tier is fair. I'm gonna leave him in C tier because I think he's limited. Not the greatest of shooters. Doesn't get sniper. He's okay, but he's not great. Kawhi Leonard is another C tier guy. Another guy who came out early in the year, about a week into the game. But this Kawhi is just he's not great anymore. He's kind of slow, not complete in terms of badges. Really good defender still though, because he's Kawhi Leonard. Low block rating hurts though. I will say you want a high block rating. He doesn't have that. Jumper is good. Fundamental dribble style is the same as Kawhi's dribble style, but he's really too slow to be much of a creator. So yeah, no limitless spot up as well. He's okay. He's just not a card I'd worth running this at this point in the year, despite the fact that Kawhi's player model and defensive animations are elite. Yeah, I think C tier is pretty fair. Now this Kawhi Leonard is 100% S tier in my opinion. There's no doubt in my mind that Pink Diamond Kawhi is without a doubt an S tier card. 6'7" with a 7'3" wingspan, hops from almost everywhere. 9 hops include quick first step and elite defensive badges across the board. He's an elite defender on the perimeter and really good on the interior. Good dunker, shooter, athlete. Shooting badges are pretty complete. You can add chef, rim protector, and brick wall this card and pretty much forget about him if you want to. Like I said, Ray Allen base is really good. Fundamental dribble style with half quick first step is super nice. He has decent movement on offense, an elite jump shot, and is one of the best defensive cards in the game. That is the type of combination that I think does make an S tier card. Now, Keith Van Horn is definitely not an S tier card or even close. This card came out midway through season 3 as a triple threat online or offline reward. It says TT online, and this card was just completely under the radar. 6'10" with a 6'11" wingspan. Nobody cares. He's got like 20 something total hoffs. Total badges, but he's, besides the shooting badges, he's really not complete at all. Missing a lot of defensive badges, missing a lot of playmaking badges. Not an elite defensive defender or slasher. Statistically, not super fast. Jumper is fine, but not great. Fundamental dribble styles, again, fine, but he needs badges. He's not super fast. This card stinks. For a triple threat reward in season 3, I would have liked to see him be a lot better, and he just isn't that good. So for me personally, I don't think you can put him any higher than the C tier. Kelly Oubre Jr. Is he C tier or B tier? Because his jumper is okay. He's got okay size at 6'7" with long arms at 7'2". 88 speed and excel. Really low block rating though, kind of hurts in the interior defense. That does hurt the card. Needs a lot of defensive badges. But if you do add those defensive badges, I think he's okay. 94 shot 3 is really good, but he's not super fast. Doesn't have great sigs. Jumper is mediocre. Like I said, it's that same base as Hersey Hawkins, Sean Marion, Franz Wagner. Much better on Franz Wagner for whatever reason than on these other cards. It's kind of weird, but besides the defensive badges, he's fine. he's not great. He doesn't do anything on the court at an elite level. I'll put him in the B tier because there's a lot of guys who I think are coming up in the C tier and D tier. But yeah, I think still not the best card in the world is Kelly Oubre Jr. Now KD is another one of those no-brainer S tier cards. He, AK, and Kawhi are all three in that category of just like complete no-brainers. Elite size, elite shooter, elite everything, honestly. Just badge-wise, he's complete, pretty much. Has the best Hall of Fame badges you can say in the game, with badges like Limitless, Sniper, Blinders, Catch and Shoot, Quick Chain, Quick First Step, Clamps, Intimidator. Yeah, really good all-around defender, elite lateral quickness. He's good on the interior as well, has great speed, shooting, dunking, an elite jump shot, really elite sigs for a small forward with shifty, Pro 2 between the legs, Pro 3 behind the back, so he's got the best full court dribble 6 in the game. His size up is nice. KD's a monster. He's the best small forward in the game, in my personal opinion. I think some people might disagree with me, but he plays enough defense and is the best offensive small forward in the game easily. I think he 100% deserves to be in the S tier, and there's no question in my mind at all that he is an S tier card. Now this KD is A tier. He's not quite as good as the other one. He is still a really solid card though. Good defense, not as great, but it's definitely still solid. Good shooter, good dunker, solid athleticism, solid all around badges. Just doesn't jump off the page at you the same badge wise. On defense, he's just not as complete. Jumper is still the same though. Shifty dribble stop, Pro 2. Pro 3 behind the back, still has that elite offensive ability. He just doesn't really hold a candle to the Opal KD. Still a solid card, but they're on completely different levels. This S tier KD versus the A tier KD are significantly different cards. Now LeBron, the Diamond LeBron, was at his time one of the best, if not the best, small forward / power forward guys in the game. He has elite size, but he just doesn't have enough badges at all. Shooting badges are pretty limited. Playmaking badges, same thing. Doesn't get quick first step, doesn't get rim protector. Stats are not elite at all. He's a good slasher. He still has LeBron's dunks, and he's solidly fast, but he's not an elite shooter. His jumper is not elite on current gen. On next gen, I think it's really good. But on current gen, while it's super easy to green, he doesn't shoot corner threes, and it's not the fastest jumper in the world, so that does hurt him just a little bit. Movement is not great, but it is LeBron still, so I'm putting him in C tier. I think that's fair. But the other LeBron, the Opal Lebron, I do think is another one of the S tier small forwards. He is better on next gen. I will say that about LeBron, is that he is better on the next gen console. But 6'9" with 7-foot wingspan is still elite size. 14 hops, includes some of the best Hall of Fame badges in the game, like bullet passer, clamps, interceptor, chase down artist, posterizer. Elite speed, really good shooter, elite dunker, and elite defender as well. Jumper is that same jumper in his movement. Again, not crazy, but with how fast he is, he's just a great all-around card. One of the best defensive cards in my team, who also is one of the best slashers in my team and has a really good shooting ability as well. So definitely an S tier guy. I am still a huge fan of LeBron. Mikael Bridges, I think, is one of the few amethysts that you can still put in the B tier. I would not take him over a guy like Jeff Green at this point in the year, who I did put higher in B tier, but 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan is a bit undersized, but his wingspan is really long, so that does help make up for it. The one Hall of Fame badge is interceptor, which is a huge badge at the small forward position because playing lanes is very important for your wings. Really good perimeter defender, not great on the interior, which does hurt. Not an elite slasher, but the jumper is good. It's smooth, relatively like solidly quick, and really easy to green. Dribble style, his movement is not elite whatsoever, but he's a 3-and-D guy, not the best interior defender. That does hold him back, but he's not a bad card, and I think speed tier is probably fair for him. OG Anunoby, if his jumper was better, he would be in B tier for sure, but because his jumper struggles, it's just not as good. 6'7", 7'2" wingspan, solid enough, okay, I guess badges. They're not great, but just mediocre. Like playmaking badges are okay, defensive badges are okay. Doesn't get brick wall, post lockdown, rim protector, chase down artist, which does hurt. No limitless spot up as well. Defense is really solid. Dunking is good. Athleticism okay, but the jumper is really mediocre. The movement is mediocre. The badges that he's missing as well, I think C tier is fair for him. Otto Porter. This is a card who, similar to a couple of these other guys, I have not looked at all because he's a recent card and I just haven't taken a look at him. 6'8" with a 7'1" wingspan, hot spots from 4 out of 5 spots. Not a ton of total badges, but the shooting badges are good. Playmaking badges, he doesn't get quick first step. Needs a lot of defensive badges. Not an elite defender or slasher. Not great speed. Solid shooter. Jump shot 63. That jumper's okay. The Roku base is pretty good. Fundamental's fine, but he's not super fast. This card should be better. I'm going to put him in C tier. I think he might be the best card in C tier, but he just is missing too many badges and doesn't get quick first step. Not an elite defender. Just not a card I would use, to be completely honest. Paul George. We'll get to Paul Pierce in a second. But Paul George is still an A tier guy. I'm looking forward to a new Paul George because his Opal is going to be a monster. But even this pink diamond is still a solid card. Really good size, 6'9". Hotspots from almost everywhere outside the 3-point line. Solid badges like posterizer, catch and shoot, ankle braces, ball stripper. Really solid defense in everywhere except for his block. I wish that was higher. But overall, statistically and badge-wise, he's pretty complete. Good dunker, good shooter, good athlete. Nothing really jumps off the page at you, but he can get rim protector, brick wall, post lockdown. Pretty good playmaking badges already. Same thing with the shooting badges. And yeah, jumper is good. PG base is good every year. Definitely hasn't changed this year. And his dribble style is the same as fundamental. So he has solid movement as well. Yeah, really solid card. Not an S tier guy, but definitely no lower than A tier at all. Paul Pierce. You know, I'm not going to put him in D tier because I don't want to be rude, but this card is not very good at this point in the year. I never loved this card. Big thing about this card, 6'7", 6'10" wingspan is fine, but he does not get bullet passer. This is a big badge, and he doesn't get it. He's one of the very, very few cards on this list that does not get that badge. Also, no limitless spot up. Defense isn't elite. No block rating. Good shooter, not a great athlete, but he does have quick dribble style, so that's nice. Better movement in terms of that dribble style than most, but without elite athleticism. Not an elite shooter. His jumper is okay on current gen. On next gen, it's not very good. I don't think he's as bad as the guys at D tier, but he's just not that good of a card at all. Not very complete. Not a guy I'd be using at this point in the year. Now, there's Paul Pierce. Another same thing in that the jumper is not elite. On current gen, it's solid, but he doesn't shoot corner threes. On next gen, I don't like it very much. But he is a much more complete card overall. 6'7", 6'10" wingspan still, but 16 hoffs include elite shooting badges, solid defensive badges, solid playmaking badges. Much more complete card in terms of his total badges and the badges he can get, like brick wall, interceptor, rim protector. Defensive stats are solid. He's a good slasher, good shooter, solid athlete. Still has that quick dribble style, which is nice on a small forward as well, so he can go get you a bucket when need be, more than a lot of the other guys on this list. Jumper, like I said, I've repeated it a couple times, not the greatest. That holds him back. He just was never going to be S tier in the first place, but I do think he's better than everybody in B tier, so I still think he's an A tier guy. Richard Jefferson is very similar to Paul Pierce. They both came out that first weekend of limited edition packs, and neither of them are very great cards. 6'7", not a ton of total badges, mostly finishing, and catch and shoot's good, I guess. Pogo stick's fine. Defense is okay. Nothing about this card is elite, though. I guess his slashing and speed is good, but his jumper is like a catapult weird jumper. It's the same he has every year. If y'all have played with a Richard Jefferson card in 2K the last like 3 seasons, y'all know what his jumper is like, and it's not very good. Unfortunately, that does hold this card back, as well as his lack of movement. He's an okay defender, but he's just not great. Yeah, not any better than C tier in my personal opinion. I don't honestly know a ton about this Rolando Blackman card. I think he's like a C tier guy, but I have to confirm by looking at his stats. 6'6", 6'9" wingspan, so a little undersized. Badge wise is not super complete, but not terrible. Does get limitless. Can get a brick wall, intimidator, rim protector, which is nice. Defensive stats are really mediocre. Okay dunker. Okay shooter. Set shot 3. Never mind, he sucks. I lied. This card stinks. Where did I put him? I mean, I hope I didn't put him in. Okay, C tier. He's like, that jumper stinks. That holds a card back. Similar to Jason Tatum, except he's not as good statistically as a guy like Jason Tatum, who I did also put in the B tier, C tier. I don't think he's as bad as the guys in D tier again, but not a complete card, and just the bad jumper, that holds a card back a lot. Now, for the 6th S tier guy, I'm going Rudy Gay. I really think he is an S tier guy. His stats and badges are not insane. They're really good, but they are not the craziest. But he is 6'8" with a 7'3" wingspan and an elite player build that looks like 6'10". Mostly finishing badges, but he comes with pretty much every other badge that you want except for limitless spot up. Like you can add a sniper, you can add a handles for days, a ball stripper, a rim protector, a post lockdown, intimidator. Defensive stats are solid, elite slasher, really solid athleticism, and a good shooter with an elite jump shot. Rudy Gay base is one of the best jumpers in 2K every single year, and that is no different this year. Quick dribble style with the pippin behind the back, as well. He has some of the best movement of any small forward in the game, so he can go get you a bucket, as well as being a really good defender with an elite player build. This Rudy Gay card is a monster. He plays better than his stats would say. One of the best budget-ish cards in the game. May not be super budgety, but a guy who I think if you're looking to plug and play somebody at the small forward or power forward position for a reasonable price, could easily be your man. Saddiq Bey is another really solid budget amethyst, kind of similar to Jeff Green. Also, something about Saddiq Bey, he has the Rudy Gay base. Well, I thought he had the Rudy Gay base. Maybe I'm tripping. It's J. Rich base. Okay, well, that's not the same. But that's still a solid jumper. Statistically, he's really mediocre. All in the 80s everywhere, but nothing like lacking significantly. Defensive badges are pretty good. He doesn't get rim protected, but otherwise he's pretty solid. No limitless either. That does hurt the card a bit, but just overall, he kind of does everything solidly. Good shooter as well. I thought his base was Rudy Gay. It feels similar to Rudy Gay, but definitely a solid jumper. Yeah, he's a really average card. Missing a couple badges. I think he's probably one of the worst players in B tier, but I still think he deserves to be in the B tier because he just is a really solid all-around card. Scotty Barnes is yet another card that I'm putting in C tier because I don't like his jumper. With a better jumper, this card would be really solid, but yeah, Scotty Barnes just not the greatest option. 6'7" with really long arms, which is nice. 5 hoffs, which are mostly shooting badges, but not the best shooting badges. Defensive stats are really solidly well-rounded, but you can't add any badges like pick dodger, rim protector, handles for days, limitless spot up, chef, blinders, etc. to him. Good jumper. I'm sorry, good shooter. But statistically, the jump shot 11 is not good. His movement is not elite. He's missing a lot of badges. I think he's C tier. Would not put him any higher than that. Pippen is probably B tier. I'm gonna put him next to AK because they kind of give you very similar things, very similarly to a guy like Gerald Wallace as well. 6'8" with 7 foot wingspan, so he's elite size. He's a really good defender with 5 defensive hops, include clamps, menace. Really good defensive stats on the perimeter and solid on the interior. He's a good dunker, solid shooter, good athlete, needs limitless, needs sniper, needs rim protector. But jump shot 30 with 3D upper. It's a little bit slow, but it is really easy to green, so that is nice. Behind the back as well is a great sig to have, but the base dribble style, his movement is not going to be that good in the half court at all. He's very similar to these 3 guys where he's mainly just a defensive lock who can maybe give you a little bit on the offensive end of the court. Yeah, just not a bad card, but not a great card whatsoever either. Sean Marion is kind of similar to these other 3 guys, actually. Another really good lock. But the thing about Sean Marion, he's a better slasher than these guys, but his dunking ability, I'm sorry, his shooting is just not, his jumper's really not that great. It's not completely terrible. It's really ugly, but it isn't that hard to time, but it's not that great of a jumper. He has good speed, really elite defensive stats, interceptor, intimidator, pogo stick, and rebound chaser on Hoff as well is really nice. Really good slasher. Shooting looks solid. He doesn't get limitless though, and the jumper is really mediocre. It's that jump shot 39 with a really weird upper. It's just not a great jumper. Fundamentals dribble style is nice, but he's not the best creator in the world, even with decent speed, and the lack of jumper hurts the card for sure and prevents him from being any higher than the B tier for me personally. Down to the final 5 cards on this list. Steven Jackson is Rudy Gay, but worse. Is he? I might honestly be underrating the card just a little bit. I'm gonna take a look at him. I might move him up to the A tier, but 6'8" with a 6'9" wingspan is really solid size. 3 out of 5 hotspots, 6 hoffs, include pretty mediocre hoffs, but chase down artist and pogo stick are good. Good defensive badges. Dunkering is solid. 86 shot 3, 86 speed and excel is okay. No limitless spot up. Yeah, I mean, he's okay. He's kind of decent. He's got Rudy base still, the quick dribble style, the same sigs as Rudy, which does help out a small forward option a lot. So I will, for that reason, still move him up to the end of A tier, I think, because he has that elite ability to create his own shot that most small forwards don't have. And for that reason, I think he still deserves to be in the A tier. All right, back to it. My brother was listening to something pretty loudly in the bathroom, so if y'all heard that in the background in the past like 30 seconds, I do apologize, but let's finish off this video. So Terry Dischinger, definitely an A tier guy, one of the best, if not the best cards in A tier for sure. He's very similar to Kawhi, but not as good of a defensive card, but offensively he is elite. His movement is really good. His jumper is elite. Unfortunately, he doesn't get limitless spot up, but every other key badge he pretty much can get. Really solid defender, great slasher, speed, shooter, jumper is elite. Quick dribble style, Pippen behind the back. His movement is some of the best of any of the guys in this list. I don't think his defense is quite as good as the guys in S tier, and I think defense is super important at the small forward position. So for that reason, I'm still going to put him in A tier, but he's a monster. I prefer him at the shooting guard position, to be completely honest. I think he's like easily an S tier guy at the shooting guard position, but at the small forward position, I'm going to go not quite as good and put him in the A tier. Then we have D tier for TJ Warren. I'm sorry, just not a good card. This card was not great the day he came out, which was literally day 1 of the game. He has good size, but his badges are really mediocre. Speed is mediocre, defense is mediocre. Nothing about this card is great. Jumper is, it's fine. Base dribble style is not good. This card sucks. Similar to these other guys, just not enough on them to be worth using at this point in the year. Ariza, I have not looked at him, but I'm going to put him in the B tier before I even look at him because I assume he's a really solid budget amethyst. 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan is really solid size. Badge-wise, does not get limitless, but he does get sniper. Otherwise, pretty good. Defensively is solid. Defensive stats are solid. Good slasher. Solid shooter. Solid speed. Jumper is good. I like Ariza's jumper every year. Dribbling is decent. He's just a 3-and-D guy. Very similar to a guy like Jeff Green, to be completely honest. Missing a couple badges, but overall, a really solid card, no doubt about it. And then finally, we have Xavier Mcdaniel, who I think does deserve probably a spot in A tier. Not the greatest card in the world, but he is super solid for sure. 10 Hoff, 6'9" with 7-foot wingspan is really good size. He's a good athlete, solid shooter, great slasher, good defender, pretty complete on the defensive end. Hoff interceptor and rebound chaser as well is great. Playmaking badges are okay. He does have the key ones like bailout, bullet passer, quick first step, downhill, and glue hands, which is nice. Can get limitless spot up, sniper, dead eye, things like that as well to become a good shooter. Jump shot 40, like I said on Deadlift Shrimp, is not the greatest jumper in the world, and his movement is not great, but he's a really solid 3-and-D guy, definitely an elite defender, and one of the just a solid offensive card as well. So overall, really solid card. Definitely deserves his spot in A tier. So yeah, that is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think of my rankings down in the comment section down below. Is there anybody you think I ranked too high, ranked too low, all those things? Feel free to let me know about it down in the comments. But yeah, that is going to do it for this video. Like I said, if you did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with 2K content very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.